Hello, all of you freaky fine folks out there on the tubes of you, and welcome back to another disturbing installment of this Disinformed After Dark. I'm Shane.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
And in case you are blissfully unfamiliar, we are three-quarters of the incredibly alluring hosts of the popular podcast, the Disinformed Podcast, which flees your preferred provider app every marvelous Monday morning. We like to talk about random esoteric nonsense and lie about it. It is a lot of fun. I'm sure you'll see a wealth of material right here on this very channel that you can go peruse if you are inclined to check it out. But what we do here is we like to have some companion video casts that we do for our weekly episodes, try to have a little extra content, but also just to amuse ourselves. And it is all too infrequent that I do have such a glorious layup as a tandem to what we recently discussed on the episode. And so this week, Michael, would you like to tell everybody what we chatted about on the episode?
I threw some cringy dating profiles at the co-hosts, and I asked them, one, if the poster was male or female, and then second, if they would go on a date. John, podcaster John, formerly known, decided to take a step further and asked himself smash or pass, but it was, would you go on a date with this person? So very fun, very educational.
So as it happens, it has been described, I am a serial killer, and I do like to keep a lot of things handy. And so I have a dating profile here.
Oh
which,
my goodness.
May or may not have ensnared my future wife, and so you'll see whether or not this is entertaining. But I have no idea why I keep these things, but when stuff gets sent to me, it's like, okay, I guess we'll just run with this. But all right, so here we go. As of 2016 is when I sent this to myself.
Whoa.
So this is when I think I had taken everything down, where I was like, if I need to put something back up in the future, this just, copy and paste myself. So the site I was using at the time required a headline. So this is the headline. My density has brought me to you. The opening is a quote which says, "Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, that he'd melt my brain."
That's a lot of movie references in there. Whew.
And how? Here's the score. I'm not operating under the illusion that there's one perfect person out there who will suddenly complete me like a corrugated puzzle piece. You have to work to get to know and appreciate anyone in this world. There are positives and negatives to every personality. So if you're wafting through reality expecting a fairy tale, I might be injecting a bit too much reality for an electronic meat market. But I am not the superficial sort. I'm polysyllabic to a fault, I read frequently, and I am a bit of a cultural anachronism. Still with me so far? Great, let's continue. I laugh easily. I smile often. I sing with a greater regularity than most, and I do it in public through loudspeakers. If you stick around for long enough, you'll hear film quotes en masse, be besieged by puns and innuendo, engage in lengthy chats about the greatest albums of all time, and eventually fall into a string of metaphysical musings that Socrates would wonder at. Or you might just wind up chatting over coffee with a loquacious fellow. There are a slew of stories behind the eyes of every human being. I happen to have experienced myriad moments of joy, sorrow, elation, fury, infatuation, frustration, and glee in the course of my life. I imagine you have as well. As such, photos and phrases contained on a dating page can be important, but ultimately, it's very difficult to gauge chemistry and interest through an electronic medium. So much nuance of human interaction is lost without inflection, proximity, touch, and tone. So can we take a moment and acknowledge and appreciate that? In any event, if you've managed to wade through my bog of polysyllabic profundity with piqued interest, I'd love to chat with you. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by. Grab a muffin on your way out and watch the first step. It's a doozy. You never know where a quick hello might lead. And then the next thing is, what would you do on a first date? And for that, said, here's the score. To echo the sentiment of every hipster epistle on this silly site, I love a good coffee shop. I have spent years in and out of them playing music, and quite frankly, coffee's essentially the elixir of life for me. So I'd take an evening at a coffee bean over screaming at one another in a bar any day of the week. Beyond that, I haven't ruled out losing my life in a tandem skydive with a beautiful woman. That's just food for thought. So there you go.
Okay. You know, if it was anyone other than you that wrote that, I would say that they had a thesaurus. No. If I came across that and it was written by anyone else other than Shane, I figured they had a giant thesaurus just ready to go the whole time when they were writing.
I did have a number of people after the first one or two messages. They're like, "Oh, you actually talk like that." Like, is this not appropriate? Is that not how people casually speak? What do you mean?
Sorry, I should have said, "What's up, dude?"
I am not familiar with your country's customs.
Your human speak.
Yeah. That's pretty embarrassing, but it was appropriate and it's funny, and I knew I had it, so why the heck not?
It was great. I loved it.
Thank you.
Would love to now hear Melissa's dating profile at the time, and then also her reaction going back and reading yours, and then being like, "What?"
That'd be adorable.
She and I we were actually just talking about this when I was mentioning it, because of course I vetted this before I went.
Yeah.
Of course.
Hole. But yeah, we had talked, she was affirming what I had said on the episode, which is all too often you just get like single sentences from people who just didn't care, didn't punctuate, do random nothing. So she was very much like, well, one, you spoke in sentences, since we're both Eddie Izzard fans. She speaks in sentences. And I was addressing things that were actually on her profile and asking questions based on those things and trying to engage in conversation. She's like, she was on the verge of deleting the profile because she was just so sick of being deluged by imbeciles, because it is really, it's just like, okay, well, let me see how many ways I can twist somebody onto a portion of my anatomy as quickly as possible. And so, yeah, my initial foray was just like, okay, I guess I can speak to this weirdo. But yeah, it's a delightful time.
And Michael, you met your partner through a dating app as well, right?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Grinder.
I can try and, of course, obviously. I could try and not reactivate the account, but see if I can dig it up and get my profile for giggles.
Careful.
If we really want to. It's still gonna say deactivated. I'm off the market.
We are out of stock.
This cut of beef is off the menu.
Yes, we have no bananas. And Courtney, we know that your family sent over like 12 pygmy goats and a selection of cattle to Jonah's parents in order for you to be
correct.
married. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I think my brother actually met his now wife on a dating app. So it was very shortly after I was married off that apparently that became the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, these days in particular, it's almost impossible. I mean, now granted, in a post-pandemic world, that makes it even further complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never enjoyed the act of meeting people and I don't do small talk. I'm almost incapable of just having any normal conversation. Like, I have actually told people previously at one of our shows, John's compatriot, and you all have met him because you used to see him at Bottle Shop, but Wayne was there with his significant other, and he just kind of casually came over, and they were standing there as though to engage me in dialogue, and I was like, I'm going to clarify something for you so that you can make an informed decision. And that's a great way to start a conversation with people you barely know. And I've been on stage with Wayne. We've played music together. We've practiced and things. So it's like, we've shared conversation, but I've never met his significant other. So it's like, I don't socialize well. I find any sort of engagement really awkward generally. Even if I do know you, it takes me a while to warm up. So usually how I socialize is I talk at people. So I'm basically just going to be doing stand-up bits for you for probably the next 10 to 20 minutes. So if you're not comfortable with that, or me describing myself or my genitals or somebody else's, or using lurid phrases or descriptions, you should probably leave, because it's not going to get any better, and I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm not going to come up for air. I value John Cusack. He's someone I pattern my behavior after. And as I'm doing this, I'm watching her eyes, and Wayne's just nodding his head like,
He's like, yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
and then
Okay,
she's
yeah.
just grabbing his hand and like, okay. They walked away from me. I was like, see? I just
Works
put it
every
on,
time.
I put it on Front Street. It's really
Oh, yeah,
important.
yeah,
Because
no, it's-
otherwise, yeah, I'm not going to waste time with people. There was a colleague, I was walking out of work and she had just started. She'd probably been there maybe like a week, and we just met at the door as we were heading out, unfortunately for her. And she started with the usual, like, oh, well, do you have a decent day? I was like, yeah, it's not bad. It's like, listen, I'm just going to walk. You don't have to talk to me. It's fine. We don't have to keep this going up. There's no Congress that needs to take place. You don't know me. You don't care about me. And frankly, like, I'm not encumbered by social mores. So like, I'm not going to make you awkward. I'm just going to walk to my car. And she's like, I'm not opposed to talking to you. I was like, oh, well, you're the one. And then just, so yeah, this is why I have written several chapters in how to win friends and influence people. It's really grand.
Good book. Good book.
The podcast makes a lot more sense now when you listen.
Haven't heard it.
Mhm.
Gonna try it out. Influence people.
That
I
is the
don't know.
sound of a joke dying, friends.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that was what I
Okay.
had for you. And
Cool.
I
Thank
hope
you.
it was delightful and entertaining in all the wrong ways. And laid bare before you like a cut of beef on a slab, as Michael would like to say.
This one's off the menu.
Furthermore, now I got like the Lord of the Rings, where it looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Oh boy.
All right, well, we're going to pull the ripcord and we're going to get the heck out of here. But we thank you all for being here as per usual. There is a link down in the show notes there that'll take you to all of our relevant socials. And if you've enjoyed this little foray into the minds of moi and my compatriots here, Michael may conceivably, possibly have some instructions for you once I stop my Christopher Walken
Talking
impersonation.
right
He
up
may
my
possibly say,
smash that like button,
Oh.
ring the bell, hit subscribe. Yeah, subscribe. Set phasers to engage, leave a comment, leave 10 comments. Just literally the letter A. Just do that 10 times.
what are they, Canadian?
Hey.
What are they, Fonzie? So, very much like to have you here for more podcasts. All right, I think that's going to wrap this thing up. Thank you all. I'm done being schizophrenic and slap happy for one evening.
Okay.
And we appreciate your time, your attention, and most of all, your thick thighs. And so, for Disinformed After Dark this week, I am, in fact, Christopher Walken.
And I'm an exaggerating disappointment.
I'm
Nah.
the poor?
We were doing nicknames. It's what we do as an outro.
But you, Ringo, are the weak.
And with that, zippity zoop, we're out of here.
And Mr. 9mm here at